What's up, guys? Classy Metal here. Welcome to the very first edition, or episode, I guess, of Lonnie's Lucky Dip. First of all, I have to give thanks where it's due. Thank you, Luke, my buddy Luke over at Death Metal Fan Channel here on YouTube, for coming up with a name for this series that I'm going to attempt here. If you missed my update where I pretty much announced this Lonnie's Lucky Dip, if you're expecting something a little more raunchy or naughty than what you get, I apologize. But what I'm doing in essence is I have all of my albums behind me on the shelves and all this. All my CDs, all my albums are added to my database on Discogs, where I have my whole collection uploaded there. And they have a button on the collection that says random item, and you click on your collection, hit random item, and just something random from my collection pops up. So I came up with this idea, kind of trying to be somewhat original, to just hit that random item button and see what pops up, and then I'm going to attempt to do a mini review, I guess, kind of convince you guys to either pick it up, tell you what I like about it, what I don't like, all that kind of good stuff. Reviewing albums is something that I'm still fairly new at. I haven't had a whole lot of experience doing that, so this will be a bit of a growing process for me as well. So I think it will be fun to come back later and kind of see how my approach to reviewing these albums kind of changes over time, and how I've grown and evolved as in being a reviewer later on. So it'll be fun for all of us, I think. I appreciate you watching, and I'm just going to get right to it. For the first episode, I went on my Discogs a few days ago, hit random item, and we got October 31st with No Survivors. So that will be the first album, very first, groundbreaking, I guess, review for me. So with No Survivors, I guess if you're not familiar with October 31st or October 31, I always have called them October 31st, so that's what I'm going with on this video. They're a 5-piece, just old school heavy metal band out of Virginia here in the U.S. They have a bit of a thrash vibe to them at times, as well as a bit of speed metal involved with them too from time to time. On the album No Survivors, this was released in 2005. Let me see if I'm still fighting that glare. But this was released in 2005 on Thrash Corner Records. This was the first album they put it out in about 6 years, I do believe. And it came right after they were released from Metal Blade Records. So there was a bit of, I guess, worry amongst their fans that maybe their sound would be changed a bit after leaving Metal Blade. But I will say that on this album, they held nothing back, in my opinion. They came out on all cylinders firing, and it was definitely worth the wait that the fans had to wait for this release. So getting into it, the first couple of tracks on this, Powerhouse and Rivet Rat, I'm sorry, there's some definite old school, almost a Judas Priest worship going on, I would say. King Crowley comes out, and he's with his vocals. He has like a raspy, raunchy style vocal. It's almost picture Lemmy Kilmister trying to do straightforward heavy metal with a few shrieks. I'm very surprised by the high shrieks that King Crowley was able to pull off with his vocal delivery. So very impressive stuff there from him. The first song, Powerhouse, definitely just riff city. Comes out, get your head going, get you in store for what you're going to have for the rest of this album. Rivet Rat is another. It's just, like I said, the Judas Priest worship is still there, but they change up the song structure and enough to keep you interested. It doesn't just blend into the first song. It definitely stands on its own. Going into track 3, we have Commit to Sin, which is, in my opinion, is the most catchy song on the entire album. If they were to do singles and so forth, it would be the main one, the first one released, I'm sure. Like I said, it's just riffs, head nodding riffs. It has a great chorus, a catchy chorus, and it's a definitely memorable song. The next 3 tracks, No Survivors, which is the title track, What Waits Beyond, and Back Alley Murders. They all on the first listen, they stand on their own a bit. They all sound very similar, and I've given this album multiple listens to try to prepare for this little mini review. And I will say that after the second or third listen, the songs kind of blend together. Those three tracks, they begin to get a bit monotonous at times, and I would find myself losing interest or being distracted very easy during that section of this album. There's also another issue that stands out to me in that area. I guess I was beginning to get a little bored in that little section of the album, and the production quality of the drums, it's almost a tapping sound. I didn't really notice it the first playthrough I gave this album, but upon the multiple playthroughs, it became very distracting to me, and it became almost annoying. There were times that I actually wanted to turn this album off and take a break from it, because the drum, the best way I can describe it is just like a tapping. And I had my headphones on, and it just felt like a tapping that just didn't match up with the music that well, and it was very off-putting, I'll say. After those three songs, they kind of whip you back in your interest back. They do a cover of Overkill's Wrecking Crew, and I will say this is a phenomenal cover. I'm not the biggest fan on bands covering other bands and putting on an album. I think that's something that should be reserved for either bonus tracks or an EP. But it works very well on this release. Like I said, the three tracks previous to it become a bit tiresome, and this whips your interest back because it sounds so radically different to what's been going on before. Once again, I have to applaud King Crawley on the vocal delivery on this cover. He is able to pull off a very, very superb cover of Overkill's vocals. The shrieks are there. I was highly impressed, and I will say that it made me want to hear a bit more of a thrashy sound from October 31st. Thrash isn't my favorite genre out there. That I have times where I like listening to it, but they pulled it off so well on this, I wanted to hear more. And then the very final track on this album, Misfortune, is the longest track. I believe it comes in at almost 8 minutes. It could be 6 minutes. I will check real quick and let you know. 8 minutes and 35 seconds. And it is absolutely fitting to be the final track on this album. It's slow, it's methodical. Once again, Riff City all over the place. Has almost a doomy approach to it at times, and I was a bit stunned by this song on this album when I first heard it. It completely caught me off guard. It's a complete 180 from the track before it, but the performance that this band was able to pull off, and just they did this immaculately, and I was thoroughly impressed with that song. It quite possibly is my favorite song on this album. Commit to Sin is another strong. Powerhouse is also strong, but Misfortune and the Overkill cover, surprisingly, are probably the strongest part. They start off with One Way, the Judas Priest worship of the album, and they pound you in the face that way. They hit you with the single, I guess, from the album. So you get caught up in that with the catchy, head-nodding fun. Then it falls off a bit, and then they whip you back, and then they just plummet you with Misfortune. So definitely a very strong release. I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. It's not something that I would find myself spinning over and over again. As I said, the drums on this, the production of the drums is very off-putting to me. If I listen to this over and over and over, I find that will probably be a distraction, and it will probably burn me out on this album to the point where I just don't want to listen to it that much anymore. But for something that I want to pull off the shelf, occasionally give it that spin, break my neck, and then hit that Misfortune. Misfortune I will probably listen to I don't know how many times. That is one that I could probably listen to over and over. But I definitely give this a 7 out of 10. And definitely check it out. If I can find a link for you guys to check this album out as well, I will post it. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you think about the idea of this series. And I don't have a set schedule that I'll be posting these episodes of the Lucky Dip on, but I will try to keep them coming fairly frequently. So just let me know what you think, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.